Construction, Forestry, Maritime, Mining and Energy Union. The Construction, Forestry, Maritime, Mining and Energy Union CFMU, though most commonly still referred to as CFMU, is Australia's main trade union in construction, forestry, maritime, mining, energy, textile, clothing and footwear production. The CFMU is affiliated with the Australian Council of Trade Unions, with the Australian Labor Party and with the World Federation of Trade Unions. The CFMU has offices in all capital cities in Australia and in many major regional centres, with the national office of the union being in Melbourne. Before the 2018 merger, the CFMU had an estimated 120,000 members and employed around 400 full-time staff and officials. In March 2018, a two-year-long process ended, resulting in a merger between the old CFMU, the Maritime Union of Australia, and the Textile, Clothing and Footwear Union of Australia. The new CFMU has a membership of approximately 144,000, 1% of the Australian workforce, with combined assets of $310 million and annual revenue of approximately $146 million. Leadership. National Secretary Dave Noonan, National President Jaden Gam, Assistant National Secretary Andrew Sutherland. National Divisions. National Construction Division Secretary Dave Noonan, National Mining and Energy Division Secretary Graham Kelly, National Manufacturing Division Secretary Michael O'Connor, National Maritime Division Secretary Paddy Crumlin. Other. John Setka is the Victorian State Secretary of the CFMU Construction Division. Ralph Edwards is the Victorian State President of the CFMU Construction Division. Dr. Jerry Ayers is the Victorian Health and Safety Unit Manager of the CFMU Construction Division. Divisions. The CFMU is structured into 4 divisions, each operating largely autonomously. Each division has its own discrete set of rules. Members of divisions are also divided into either districts or branches. Elections for office positions within the organization, for which the term of office is 4 years, are predominantly conducted by the AEC. The Mining and Energy Division, however, holds exemptions from having their elections conducted by the AEC and from the postal ballot provisions under the RO Act. The supreme governing body is the National Conference, which consists of members of each divisional executive. There is also a National Executive, National Executive Committee, divisional conferences and divisional executives. Construction and General Division. History. Political activity. The CFMU is one of the most powerful unions in the Labour-left faction of the Australian Labor Party. The Construction Division is often associated with the left faction of the Australian Labor movement, but during the 2010 federal election, the CFMU and AMU donated a total of $60,000 to the Greens. Each state division operates with autonomy, which results in differing services being offered to members. The NSW branch of the CFMU General and Construction Division has an estimated 5,000 members, and the Victorian branch around 9,500. In August 2010, the CFMU donated over $1.02 million to political activist group Get Up to pay for TV airtime for a women's rights ad spot condemning Tony Abbott and the Liberal Party. In the 2013 election, the CFMU donated $50,000 to the Greens Party in the ACT. In 2019, the Construction Division donated $100,000 to the 2019-20 Australian bushfire season recovery effort. Manufacturing Division, formerly Forestry and Furnishing Products Division. The CFMU Forestry and Furnishing Products Division was first registered as a federal organization 21 August 1907 as the Federated Sawmill, Timber Yard and Woodworkers Employees Association of Australasia. The union's name was changed in 1913 to the Amalgamated Timber Workers Union of Australia, and again in 1918 to the Australian Timber Workers Union. In late 1990, a ballot was conducted by members of the Australian Timber Workers Union and the Pulp and Paper Workers Federation of Australia, endorsing the amalgamation of both unions to form the Australian Timber AN. Another ballot was conducted in mid-Minus 1991 on the amalgamation between the Australian Timber and Allied Industries Union and the Building Workers Industrial Union. This endorsement supported the first stage in the development of what is now the Construction, Forestry, Mining and Energy Union. The Forest and Furnishing Products Division represents 20,000 members nationally. In March 2018, after amalgamating with the TCFUA, CFMU Forestry and Furnishing Products Division became the CFMU Manufacturing Division. Mining and Energy Division. The Mining and Energy Division consists of a number of unions which have amalgamated. The largest union to contribute to the formation of the division was the Australian Coal and Shale Employees Federation, ACSEF, often known as the Miners' Federation, which had a continuous history dating back to 1915. Predecessors to the ACSEF had existed on and off since the 1850s. Industries covered by the Mining and Energy Division include the coal industry, coal ports, the metalliferous mining industry, electric power generation, oil and gas, and the small coke industry. The coal industry. The coal industry is the majority of the Mining and Energy Division's coverage. Of more than 16,500 members, around 13,000 work in the coal industry. The CFMU is the primary union for the coal mining industry. Coal ports. The union represents most workers, approximately 500 at export coal ports located along the east coast of Australia. Metalliferous mining. The division covers most metalliferous miners in Broken Hill, where silver, lead, and zinc ores are mined. There are around 400 members at Broken Hill. Other mines are largely covered by the AWU. Through the amalgamation with the FEDFA, the division also has around 1,500 members at metalliferous mines in Western Australia, South Australia, Tasmania, and Queensland. Oil, gas, and electricity. The division has around 2,200 members employed in power stations, oil refineries, and other parts of the oil and gas production chain. This division is the major union representing workers in the Victorian power generation industry. The Koch Industry. This industry, as a standalone commercial industry, is quite small in Australia. Most coke production is tied to iron and steel operations. There are standalone coke works on the south coast of NSW north of Wollongong and in Bowen in northern Queensland. The Mining and Energy Division covers the coke works on the south coast, and the AWU covers the Bowen site. The CFMU has approximately 50 members in the coke industry. Maritime Union of Australia Division. The Maritime Union of Australia Division consists of the Amalgamated Maritime Union of Australia. As of 2017, the division represents 16,000 workers associated with Australian ports. History. In September 2019, the MUA division announced that it would go on strike during the global climate strike during September 20, being the first known instance of workers taking industrial action to attend the rallies. Political activity. In the 2018 Victorian election, the Maritime Union of Australia division donated an unknown amount to the Victorian Socialists campaign. Recent events. The Building and Construction Industry Regulation. In 2001, the Howard government set up the Royal Commission into the Building and Construction Industry, commonly known as the Coal Royal Commission. The Commission and its findings were largely condemned by the Labour Party and the Greens, which argued that the terms of reference were too narrow. The CFMU asserted that the purpose of the Commission was a witch hunt to reduce the power of the CFMU rather than to investigate crime. The General and Construction Division of the Union stopped some corruption within the Union. Justice Cole found 392 cases of unlawful conduct. 98 cases were passed on to prosecution authorities by the Commonwealth Attorney General, of which 26 were considered breaches of criminal law. As a result of the Commission's findings, the Howard government established the Office of the Australian Building and Construction Commissioner, commonly known as the AP, in 2005. It had a wide range of powers, including compelling testimony under oath with penalties of up to $22,000 for individuals and $110,000 for corporations and unions apply for breaches of the Building and Construction Industry Improvement Act 2000. The Act was abolished in 2012 by the Gillard government and was replaced by the Fair Work Building and Construction. In 2015, the Abbott government attempted to reinstate the Act, but the legislation failed to pass the two houses of Parliament. A further attempt to pass the legislation was unsuccessfully made by the Turnbull government in March 2016. After the two failed attempts to reintroduce the Act in December 2016, Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull called the double dissolution 2016 federal election. Following the election, the re-elected Turnbull government was successful in reinstating the Act with the vote of Senators Pauline Hanson's One Nation, Nick Xenophon team, and Darren Hinch. Under work choices, situations where industrial action could take place were reduced. The CFMU and workers had to prove a workplace was unsafe to put a stop to work on a site, which has not happened to date. Construction, Forestry, Mining and Energy Union v. BHP Coal Tar Limited. During 2011 and 2012, BHP Coal and its employees were negotiating about a new enterprise agreement to apply to BHP Coal's operations at various mines, including the Saraji mine. For the purpose of supporting or advancing their claims, employees of BHP Coal took protected industrial action in the form of work stoppages and overtime bans. There was a 7-day work stoppage between 15 and 22 February 2012. During this stoppage, members of the CFMU who were employed at the Saraji mine, including Mr. Doe Evendens, participated in protests beside the road leading into the mine property. Standing behind barriers BHP Coal had erected at the side of the road, the protesters held up signs which the CFMU had provided and waved the signs at those who were driving into the mine. The signs were directly or indirectly critical of BHP Coal and of those who were driving into the mine. On 4 occasions over 3 days, Mr. Doe Evendens held up a sign that read, "No principles, scabs, no guts." Some employees of BHP Coal complained to management about the scabs sign. Following some interactions with management, Mr. Doe Evendens' employment with BHP was terminated. On appeal to the High Court of Australia, it was held that the dismissal of Mr. Doe Evendens was permissible under the Fair Work Act 2009. Amalgamations. The federal division of the Federated Sawmill, Timber Yard and General Wood Workers Employees Association changed its name to the Amalgamated Timber Workers Union of Australia. The former union had been registered federally in 1907 and had registered branches in Victoria, Adelaide, New South Wales, Western Australia, and Tasmania. Although the organization was deregistered in 1918, its members formed a new union, the Australian Timber Workers Union, the same year. The new union extended coverage to workers in box and case factories, sawmakers' shops, joiners' workshops, carpenters, implement workers, and woodworking machinists. In 1940, the union filed an application and succeeded in extending its coverage to most workers employed in the timber and wood industry, including cabinet makers and furniture factories. In 1991, it amalgamated with the Pulp and Paper Workers Federation of Australia to form the Australian Timber and Allied Industries Union. Later in the year, amalgamation with the Building Workers Industrial Union of Australia created the ATU and BWU Amalgamated Union. Further amalgamations eventually saw this organization become part of the Construction, Forestry, Mining and Energy Union in 1993. Since late 2015, the Maritime Union of Australia and CFMU have been in merger talks to create Australia's most powerful union, On 29 February 2016 at the MUA National Conference, delegates voted unanimously in favor of negotiations for a merger with the CFMU. In August 2017, the Turnbull government introduced tough new laws targeting the CFMU, with broad powers to deregister unions, disqualify officials, and block unions from merging if they repeatedly breach industrial laws. The proposed law failed to pass the Senate. The Fair Work Commission approved the merger in March 2018 of the CFMU, MUA, and the Textile, Clothing and Footwear Union of Australia, TCFUA. The merger had been opposed by business groups, including Master Builders Australia, and by the federal government. In November 2018, the Australian Mines and Metals Association appealed to the Federal Court of Australia against the merger. The appeal was dismissed in December.